Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast. It's myself, it's Spider, it's Sean Q. Quigley. Sean, what's the middle initial?
Full name.
What is it?
Anthony.
Sean
After St. Anthony.
Quigley. We all know him affectionately as Quigs. Got Moonhead somewhere out in the ether. And Jacob, who's also the ice cream specialist in Chicago. Right? Isn't he the guy who's doing that shit now?
Yeah. He's nowhere to be found right now. I'm producer today. So if anything messes up, it's my fault.
It's your ass, yeah.
But it's Jacob's fault.
But it's, you guys are having a frozen yogurt. No, it's a real ice cream machine, right? It's not frozen yogurt?
Yeah, I think it was like $7,000.
Really?
Yep, fresh out of Small Cheval here in Chicago.
Is that really where it came from?
I believe so. I think on the Yak they said they got this ice cream machine from this local burger chain that has not served ice cream out of it since 2021.
Really?
Yeah,
cool.
So the cream team is something to watch here in Chicago if you're looking for something outside of NASCAR to maybe watch.
Who's on the cream team? Jacob and
Zach.
This new guy we hired.
Yep.
Okay, good.
But they're basically just making something a semi-simple situation into like the most difficult thing on earth.
Yeah. Barstool tends to do that a little bit.
Yeah,
right.
That's what makes it great.
Kid show is a perfect example, isn't it?
Yeah, that ended up coming true. My worries when I left the show the other day.
So for people who don't know, Quigs, who's obviously on the show every week, is also a master at editing and graphics and all that kind of stuff. So he did a kid show with Jersey Jerry and a couple episodes of it. You had a couple episodes, didn't you, Quigsy?
7.
Jesus.
Yeah, the show we decided to
episodes
build a full season of is the one that doesn't air.
It was tough. I mean, Quigs and I were doing voiceover work in this studio.
Spider was in it.
Oh, really?
He was the magical talking clipboard.
Yeah.
Clippy.
Yeah.
I'm bummed. I'm crushed.
Surprisingly, out of left field, we wound up not being able to get a children's show hosted by a self-proclaimed former crackhead, degenerate gambler off the, but it is what it is, right? It was the least.
It was
shocking,
more surprising than it
ever.
should have been.
Yeah,
should have seen that one coming from a mile away.
Yeah, this is what it is. Maybe we get it at some point. This episode of Rubbin is Racing is brought to you by something much better than ice cream. That's Body Armor sports drink. This summer, cool off with BODYARMOR Chill, a bold new way to hydrate with no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. Enjoy a new refreshing cooling sensation in 3 icy flavors: frozen berry, frozen cherry, and frozen orange. The new BODYARMOR Chill. It's available for a limited time, so grab yours at a 7-Eleven or a store near you. Thank you, BODYARMOR. We just had some extended time with one of BODYARMOR's drivers, Ryan Blaney. We'll get to that in just a second. And this episode is also brought to you by Blue Chew. Have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And starting right now, Blue Chew is offering a combo so strong, it'll knock your socks off and your neighbor's socks off. You'll have to move towns with the amount of noise you'll be making. Blue Chew Max has arrived, and it combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable. This combo acts fast and it lasts. Guys, be ready when she needs it and get your first month of Blue Chew free. Great sex is a few clicks away. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, and the best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew won't stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house. That is the mission. So make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use the promo code Rubbin. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's promo code Rubbin, Rubbin. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Boys, how we doing? Spider, I feel like I just saw you. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing great. We had a great time at Brickyard Crossing for the Barstool Classic, as you alluded to, Large. So the Barstool Classic is our golf tournament that we do every other week. I think there's like 26 of them this year all across the country. And this week happened to be at Brickyard Crossing, the golf course that is at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 4 of the 18 holes are inside the infield. And we were lucky to be joined alongside our good friend Ryan Blaney. So love that he made some time come join us, and he had a great time. I mean, obviously we share the BODYARMOR sponsorship. I loved the BODYARMOR Chill ad read. I can't wait to actually try that myself. Yep. I mean, in my opinion, at the Coke 600, Blaney had one of the sickest paint schemes with that Body Armor Chill car. So just a kind of a collaboration of everything that I love. Golf, racing, Ryan Blaney, Body Armor. It was a great time. And he is truly one of the GOATs. I mean, a lot of these guys that are stars in NASCAR, especially on the cup level, don't really want to do any of the extra promo, or they are reluctant to, even now with this new driver incentive program. But Blaney just wanted to come golf, and I respect the hell out of that. And he has no business being as good at golf as he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I forget what he said he shot at Augusta, but he came into our office a couple weeks ago to help with the Barstool After Dark, and I had him helping Beef and Tate try to complete the challenge, the chip and putt challenge. He was saying that he shot like, I want to say like around an 80 at Augusta, which is just insane. Yeah. Insane for a guy who picked up golf around COVID, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a game I've been trying to master my whole life, and he seemingly just picked up the clubs and already is 5 laps down. So I guess that's to be expected when you're going up against Ryan Blaney, but he is the man.
I'm going to say something, and I don't normally say this, but I think I was wrong. I had said there isn't a universe that exists where Spider beats me in 18 holes.
Oh yeah,
you would have to give me a couple of months. I haven't swung a club in a long time. Neither has Spider. You'd have to give us a couple of months, and if we would go head to head, I thought I would smoke this young gentleman. Right? Spider has a very nice swing. Spider is a lot more adept on a golf course than I'd given him credit for. So I think it would be a good round, Spider. I still think it'd be a good round.
It would definitely be fun.
But I don't think I was very cocky when I said it. We had a chance to do a couple of closest to the pins. And everyone's clubs there were made for people, Ryan Blaney, Spider size, that type of thing. So I was like, I'm not fucking swinging these things. Unless Beef gives me his sticks, I'm out. And Spider took a couple of hacks. And so I was mildly impressed. But I tell you, I was very impressed with the golf course. And for people like me who don't know a ton about IndyCar or anything like that, or don't even give a shit, Spider and I thought it was going to be a little gimmicky as we were leaving the golf course to go into the 4 holes that is on the infield. It's not. And there's a Ferrari racing program going on the road course inside of the infield as well. So the Ferraris are buzzing by you when you're on, I think, the 7th tee it was, or something.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of buzzing by you every couple of seconds. It was very, very fucking cool. It was not gimmicky. The same way that Lake Lloyd is sort of tucked into the end of Daytona, so you really don't feel like you're necessarily on a track. It's not that obvious because the infield is so huge that Lake Lloyd had like a weird feeling to it that I enjoyed. Same thing with this. I thought Brickyard Crossing should be a must-play place for people who kind of get into that. And we had a little bit of time before we had to do the putting contest. Spider and I jumped on a golf cart. We went to the Brickyard, the museum there. We went to the fucking IndyCar museum. We picked up some merch. He got one of these fucking foam blocks, right? The museum is cool. Foam brick, rather. You know what I mean? The whole experience I thought was great. Barstool Classic does a great job to start. Shout out Live Events Lisa and Taylor and, all those guys who do Kyle who hooks us up and whatnot. But the Brickyard Crossing, I highly recommend for everybody. And you're right. Ryan
brick,
was good.
baby.
Yeah, Ryan was right. And another hypocritical thing. I don't give a shit about Larson running the Indy 500. I thought it was, whatever. I wound up buying one of the die casts.
Same. I got one over
Indy
there.
Car.
Yeah, Larson's car?
I don't know if it's even in the frame, but there's one on the end of the
set.
That's
a baby diecast.
Oh, yeah, the tiny ones.
My bad.
The $80 ones.
I want like the one. What is it? 130, 1 to 32.
Yeah, 124.
124.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is in IndyCar. Probably
that's a 1 to 64. I think.
I think. That's right.
The 1 to 32 are the ones, and I'd said to the woman, "Is this half off since you didn't finish the race? Like the whole deal. Yeah, fuck you, keep it moving." Prices are exorbitant. I spent way too much on a golf shirt, but it was a really good weekend. And again, Blaney is a fucking gem. And I think Spider and I both had the same look on our face when Blaney won in Nashville. We were like, this makes our golf outing with him so much fucking easier. Because he walked in with seeming like the weight of the world was lifted off his shoulders. So thank you to Ryan Blaney for spending time with us over the weekend. And we have Rajah Caruth coming up. truck winner this weekend. So he's going to come up first time on the show, I believe. So we're going to sit down and shoot the shit with him for a while. But let's do that. So Rajah, for the recap from this weekend, trucks, Rajah Caruth won. Was driving, out of his rearview mirror for most of the end of the race, kind of holding off Corey Heim, but a great win for this young man. I believe it's his second career win. So congratulations to him and looking forward to having him come up. Over in Xfinity, Catherine Legg failed to qualify for the Xfinity race on Saturday, but they decided to have it anyway. Why not, right?
Yeah, get some reps in.
Yeah, Little Gator won. He held off Connor Zilich to win his second Nashville Super Speedway and his third win of the season. Ross Chastain was in that race also. I told you guys it's one of the reasons why I bet on Ross to repeat week over week, which he didn't. Ross finished P5. But Justin Allgaier just absolutely piling on the accolades again and the points and the wins this season. I think he's far and away the best driver in that series. And then there was Cup. We'll go right to Cup. Chase Briscoe was on the pole at Nashville for the third time this season. It was the fourth time in 5 years that the Cracker Barrel 400 has sold out since the Cup Series made its return to Nashville in 2021. So big crowd at Nashville. The weather seemed pretty goddamn good for a while. And I guess the right guy won, right? Because even though he's had 5 did not fin DNFs this year through the opening 14 races, including 3 consecutive DNFs in March, which is double the number of DNFs of any other competitor in the top 15. No one has more DNFs this season than Ryan Blaney, but he pulls off the win in Nashville this weekend. And with that, Penske and Penske-adjacent drivers are all locked into the playoffs. No other multi-car team has qualified its entire lineup yet. Oh. So now that Cindric, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and Wood Brothers comes in. Josh Berry comes in. Wood Brothers as the Penske adjacent driver. So congratulations to them. It looks like they're setting up to win another championship. Maybe Joey Logano making them the best Cup Series driver currently.
That'd be good for you.
Yeah. Is it been really fucking like with the whole DNF thing? I had seen a graphic. There are only 5 Cup drivers this year, and we're more than halfway through the season without a DNF. And I don't know if it's an indication of anything. Ricky Stenhouse was on that list, but obviously he got taken off that list by Carson Hocevar, and we'll talk about that in a second. But outside of William Byron, John Hunter, Chase Elliott, Todd Gilliland, and Tyler Reddick, everybody else has a DNF. Does that, you think, I don't know, maybe make the Cup Series out to be a little sloppy? Right? Because I think that's a lot. I think it's a big number that all but fucking 5 of their drivers have not finished a race, and we're just over halfway through. Does it say something about maybe the quality of drivers, or is it the car? Who the fuck do you blame that on?
That's a tough question.
It's a tough one, right? I don't know if it's even. It could be just luck too, right? But that's a lot. It's a big number.
I mean, the Cup Series is kind of slow. Like, I mean, depends on what your definition of that is, but every single week, the drivers are just all on their headsets being like, nobody out here knows how to fucking drive.
Yeah.
Like, and
are they right?
No, like they just they'll say the most talented guy in the world is like, he has no idea how to drive. Right. But it's hard to stay clean when guys are being aggressive and you got tracks that they take out half the field. So like, you could just go off one race and you'd be like, half the drivers have a DNF this year after the first race of the season. But no, I think that's just kind of like one of the, and I don't know completely how this stacks up to like other years and stuff, but that's the difference between like F1, where it's like super rare for a driver to crash and be out for the race. Here it's people are banging and trying to fit in gaps they don't fit in, and there's going to be a lot of DNFs.
I also think it's a testament to kind of the overtime or the final restart. Anytime there's a late race caution, I just feel like, what does Michael Waltrip say? Cautions breed cautions, or I don't know if that's his quote or whose, but late in the race, I feel like, that's when things really can go wrong. It's not like, I don't know. I just feel like that's probably responsible for so many of them. And then you look at these numbers compared to Xfinity and trucks, and this was as of May 30th. but only 3 drivers in the Xfinity Series had went the whole season without a DNF, and then 3 in the Truck Series. So the Cup Series has double as many drivers as both those series, or both of them put together, in terms of drivers that don't have a DNF so far this season. So I don't think, the Cup Series is super sloppy. I mean, obviously you watch an Xfinity race and a lot of times they're just making a mess of it, or like some of the lower series, even ARCA. But truck race, I feel like we've spoke about at length on the show previously because they finished under green. They had a long streak of finishing under green. I don't know if that streak is still alive. I would assume not, but it's just, I think it's a testament to the talent level in the Cup Series. And some of the 6 drivers are guys that you kind of have to tip your cap at. Stenhouse and John Hunter Nemechek, nothing against those guys, but those are guys that have historically been.
I was shocked John Hunter was on. I could have sworn I saw John Hunter in some shit this season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's having a great season relative to, what the expectations were. And then Stenhouse and John Hunter are guys that I feel like, NASCAR fans often get on for their frequency of tearing up equipment, where this year I think we kind of have to tip our cap. So I would kind of go the other way, Large. I think it's just kind of, yeah. And again, I'm like Quiggs. I don't have the data compared to, 13 races through the 2024 season or years past, but I don't know. I think it makes sense. There's also stuff that happens like, granted, I feel like we've seen more of it in years past with like brake failure or stuff like that, or like toe links going down. But I think this is pretty spot on.
And it could have been bigger. We didn't get the big one at Talladega.
Right.
Like you could have easily have added Todd and Chase or Tyler to one of these big ones, because we have done fair share of super speedways. We're going to get most of the road courses now, which I'm assuming is going to have less DNFs. So yeah, I don't know how to see it either, but somebody made this fancy graphic, so I had to rob it because I wanted to cross Ricky's name off it, just to show that I can do that shit. It's not just.
I think Ricky got his first DNF this weekend.
That's why he's got that big line through.
Yeah, you see, that's my graphics.
Oh, I'm looking at the graphic that I bookmarked from at NASCAR Insights.
Oh, yeah, it's the same one. But
okay.
But yours is a week later. Yeah. So
Large did annotations.
I love that. So I missed the annotations, but yeah. So Stenhouse, I mean, obviously, and he seemed upset. I think that's kind of a controversial thing itself. Is I don't know where I stand in terms of the Hocevar Stenhouse stuff. It seemed like Stenhouse was rightfully pissed off, but then Carson did not apologize, and he basically said that's par for the course, and that's kind of to be expected. So I don't know. I do think you have to still tip your cap, though. Stenhouse going through 13 races without a DNF, and if you told me it took him 14 races to get his first DNF of the season, especially with Talladega, Daytona, some road courses mixed in there, I'd probably be surprised at the beginning of the season. So he lasted longer than I thought without a DNF, and I think both him and John Hunter are kind of the 2 takeaways from this graphic. That's like, wow, these guys are doing better than expected this year.
You want to talk about Carson and Ricky right now?
Let's do it.
All right. So Carson Hocevar makes contact with Ricky Stenhouse and ends his day, puts him into the wall and ends his day. And, obviously Hocevar has got this, not a stigma, but a reputation of being, a bad boy, an aggressive driver, a young buck, that type of thing. And even after the race, in his interview, where the guys in Amazon said he had an opportunity to be a little bit empathetic or sympathetic or whatever, he instead was pretty apathetic to the whole thing. So it rubbed people the wrong way. And I think Ricky had said that he was going to get him back. But then Danielle Trotta, right before we came on, just tweeted, Carson Hocevar said all the right things to us and Ricky. We don't, and this is what Carson Hocevar said, I don't think he's got enough press. We don't want to put any more targets on my back. I feel bad. I've texted Ricky. If he wants to talk again in Michigan, we can. I didn't want to wreck him. I thought he'd run the middle, and he came all the way down, and I got his left rear. Maybe in that situation with Ricky, I'd change some things, but I'm not going to change who I am. I'm still going to put my car in the best spot I can to win. I'm just learning when to and when not to. I don't want to change or lose my edge. I just need to smooth the edges a bit. That's Carson Hocevar. That's a little bit better. That's a veiled I'm sorry, but it's still not all the way. Like when
Right.
you end somebody, yeah, I'll take some of the edges off of it, but fucking relax, you know? So he is really, and I've spoke just like casually and listened casually to a bunch of drivers since this weekend, whereas people are like, oh, this guy's picking up the mantle from the Intimidator. Drivers have said without a shadow of a doubt, stop comparing Carson Hocevar to Dale Earnhardt Sr. Like it's almost that pisses them off more than what Carson is doing on the track. How do you feel about Carson at this point in the season? He did move up to, I think, 18th in standings. So he's knocking on the door of the playoffs, barring having, so many more winners in the second half of the season. How do we feel about him? How do we feel about his contrition afterwards, especially with what I just told you from Danielle? Talk to me about Carson Hocevar.
I think, what Danielle tweeted is kind of like the most self-awareness we've seen from Carson. And not to say he's not self-aware, but maybe the word I'm looking for is like his reluctance to take responsibility. But even in that quote you read, Large, I think that's kind of him taking as much responsibility as possible. This is a kid, he finished second. Like he was in contention for a win here. Obviously it sucks for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And, he's, as we just alluded to, he's been having a great season, but it's just kind of par for the course, in my opinion. We know Carson Hocevar is a super aggressive driver. We know he doesn't really give a shit what people think about him. Not saying what he did to Ricky was right, but it's also not that surprising. He was going for a shot to win, so I easily kind of understand why he was driving so aggressively. He clearly had a very fast car. That also being said, I see, like, from where I sit, I have no issue with Carson Hocevar. In fact, I'm a fan, obviously. I like seeing him. I think he contributes something great to him. Now, both things can be true. If I had to race against him every Sunday and I was on the receiving end of that shit, I would be pissed. I'd be like, fuck this kid. This kid has no respect for people that have been in the sport a long time, driving, trying to, especially Ricky Stenhouse, one-car team, kind of doing his own thing out on an island on his own. I definitely get the frustration. But I still go back to the fact that I think NASCAR fans are kind of spoiled in the storyline we have to watch. Because I'm watching for Carson Hocevar. Now there's two things to watch for. When will he get his first win? Which it seems like every week that goes by, we're closer and closer. And now also add in the fact of when will people retaliate? And if I'm Ricky Stenhouse, I've long said I think it kind of sucks. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the fights in NASCAR, but they're so short-winded and it's one punch before they're separated. I'm almost going to suggest that Ricky should take this out on Carson on the track. And we hear about this all the time. Oh, this driver's upset with the way someone raced him. And then weeks go by and the storyline dies and, it just kind of, the fire fizzles out. I think this week, I'd like to see Ricky put his money where his mouth is and do something about it. Maybe not in his board shorts with his fist, like he did to Kyle Busch, but on the track. And I think this is a good opportunity. If Ricky's truly serious, get Carson, fuck him at his home track. This is a place where Carson wants to win. Right. He's had speed recently. The momentum is kind of helping him out. Put your money where your mouth is, Ricky.
What are you more likely to do? Yeah. What are you more likely to do this week? Home track has had speed lately. Are you more likely to bet on Carson Hocevar to win this race or not finish this race? Which brings what we just spoke about with DNFs. What would you be more likely to do?
Well, okay. Honestly, this is easy for me. I thought at first it was going to be tough. I would say DNF because I think even if you look at Carson's results this year, that does not tell the full story of how much speed he's had week in and week out. He's been running really good. And there's a lot of races that, again, I felt like he could have won and ended up not finishing. I go back to the Atlanta race when he was really surprising me early in the season, and I'm not sure if he finished that race. He finished 30 for.
Was he not third in that one? Which race did he end third? I thought that was Atlanta.
Oh wait, this says he finished second. Is that true?
Oh yeah.
So this is second place. Why did I think he got wrecked out of that race?
No,
I know he wrecked with Blaney.
He matched his best performance this weekend with the second place finish.
I've noticed a correlation of the races where everybody's like he's too aggressive, he has no respect, he's a wild driver. Is the ones that he's finishing top 2, top 3, and he said it in his quote where he's like, I don't want to lose my edge.
Right.
It's like you shouldn't. Like if nobody's complaining about him when he's finishing 31st. Everyone's complaining about him when he's maybe has one or two like reckless moves, but if he's finishing second, I think you just take the hate, don't have any friends, and be like, I got to just go out there and do my aggressive driving style because I'm getting some really good finishes with it.
He's knocking on the door for sure. For sure. I'm actually stunned. I didn't realize that was his second place finish, but I think what Quig said is spot on. People seem to be more upset with him the better that he does, which, I mean, like, if you got to be able to beat him. You can't just be mad because, well, then again, Ricky wasn't mad because he was driving better. He was mad because he took him out of the race. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. I agree with Carson. I think he's on the precipice of greatness. I don't think he should change up anything. He should keep doing his thing and kind of keep the haters and the criticism at bay, as much as that might, suck for people like Ricky Stenhouse or people that get implicated in some of the aggression. But my point is, if there's going to be retaliation, I'd like to see it sooner rather than later. And I think Michigan, given that that's Hocevar's home track, would be a good opportunity to put his money where his mouth is.
Do you think that NASCAR goes after Ricky if the following week he does something like that? If it doesn't seem, I mean, it'd be easier to do on a road course, obviously, but
I think at this point, Ricky's more likely to go after him on the track than he is off the track based on some of the shit that went along with his last little.
A lot of times that's what NASCAR cares about more than the fights, though.
Is on-track incidents.
Yeah, like clearly intentional.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see,
right?
Like, interested to see how they react should something like this occur.
Especially after he was vocal. And Carson is sort of playing chess because his after-race interview, he was pissed, right? He was like, I'm not satisfied with second, and Ricky should have got out of the way maybe, or whatever. And he only said this, or at least it's only coming to light today, a couple of days later. So that's kind of the bare minimum of him being sorry for what it is. And maybe that's even more brilliant because technically he's like, well, I kind of said I'm sorry, but he didn't do it at a time where people really necessarily fucking believe him, maybe.
Right.
Do you think it's worse than if he goes out, like you had mentioned, on his home track and he's 20th? Do you think Ricky should wait until Ricky is perhaps lap traffic and Hocevar is in the top 5, like really ruin his fucking day?
Yeah, I mean,
does he do it, I don't know, second lap in when Carson fucking qualified 32nd and Ricky qualified 31st? You know what I mean?
I think it's going to depend. Like, if he's going to try to get away with it and make it look like a racing incident instead of just blatant retaliation, it probably makes sense to do it when they're running around the same time. But at the same time, I think if Ricky's serious about wanting to get revenge on him, it might make more sense when he's showing that speed we saw at Atlanta or Nashville to really get involved.
Not that it's a bad thing, but when is the last time somebody's threatened retaliation and they've actually done it?
Right. That's my thing.
It never happens. We always hear about like he's going to get it next time when he's on the track, and nobody ever does it. And I think I'm not saying they should. It's kind of smart to like let it go and move on, and the next race is the next race. But I can't remember the last time somebody's been like, I'm going to do this, like next race he's fucked, and then we get the next race and there's actually something that happens that's directly related to what they were going to say.
But Quiggs, this is that same guy put on those disgusting board shorts and waited by Kyle Busch's fucking hauler. Like, you know what I mean? Like Ricky is that he's him.
And he may do it by accident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
he's got a lot of accidental takeouts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't like, to Spider's point, we like the kid a bunch. But maybe one of these is going to be the last straw to where we no longer see that, oh yeah, I'm going to get him back, and they never do. Maybe they do. And maybe that's what the kid needs. I don't know, to learn a lesson. But either way, he was P2, but
it's a fine line, Large. I think the way he's driving, someone's either going to wreck him or punch him, or someone's going to make room for him at a more competitive seat and try to bring him in. That way they don't have to deal with him. If he's a teammate, it's like, hopefully he'll race those guys with more respect than a guy like Ricky Stenhouse who's on a one-car team.
And that's a good point too, Spider, because Ricky can't make that many more enemies. Like he needs help, right? He doesn't have the benefit of teammates. So he can't all of a sudden have Spire be like, we're not fucking helping that guy out in any situation after that. And he can't punch him either because Ricky is 5'7", 5'8", maybe?
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything?
Carson's 6'5". It would be comical.
Are you saying I couldn't punch you in the face if I wanted to, Large?
So I will say a universe does not exist, right? I'm going back to that fucking well where you look good trying to punch me in the fucking face. First of all, it would be the easiest fucking punch I've ever taken. And secondly, it would just the dichotomy from it. I don't think, you know what I'm saying? But you wouldn't do it. I don't think if you had the opportunity to punch me in the face or run me off the road and turn 3 at Michigan, you'd run me into the fucking fence at Michigan, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
although I do think Ricky is like fucking pretty jacked.
He's jacked and he's crazy. So
and Hocevar is pretty like, he's kind of got that Wembanyama build, no disrespect, but he's just a tall, skinny kid.
Keeps that hand out maybe a little bit and fucking, I don't know, fights off his fucking front shoulder.
I think if Ricky put one right underneath his chin, he might be able to stun him.
That would be awesome if he chopped that fucking tree down, right? Comes in from underneath.
Big tree fall hard.
Yeah, now you talk my fucking language. The NASCAR playoff standings after Nashville. So we have 9 winners now. We have 9 winners. And then in the 10th place, we have Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Briscoe, Bowman, Buescher, and Kyle Busch. So if the season were to end today, those guys would be safe and in the playoffs. And just outside of the top 16 as of this week is Ryan Preece, who's just one playoff. He's 2 behind Kyle Busch. Carson Hocevar, who's 4 behind Kyle Busch. So it's really tight down at that part of the rankings. Then Ricky Stenhouse is right behind Carson Hocevar. And then AJ Allmendinger is 7 points behind the 16th driver, Kyle Busch. So after Kyle Busch, you have Ryan Preece, Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse, and AJ Allmendinger, all within striking distance of possibly getting themselves into the playoffs if there aren't a shitload more drivers. And I don't know if we're going to get that many more drivers with wins this season. I think it's one of those things where the guys who are already going to build off their multiple win season so far, like Denny, Christopher, and Kyle Larson, I expect William Byron to win at least one more, and obviously probably Blaney as well. So there's a bunch of cars out there that can repeat win, but I don't know where all the new winners are going to come from outside of those guys that are right now ranked, maybe 10 through 16. So that's where the playoffs were to be if it were to end today. But before we leave Nashville, Eric Jones was impressive this weekend.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you guys, right? I thought this was a real good week for him. P7 at Nashville. He's now wheeled the 43 to finishes of 13th or better in 3 of the last 4 Cup Series races and heading into what's also his home track. He's also a Michigan guy, Eric Jones. So be on the lookout for EJ. Maybe he shows up on my card
I'm
this
glad
week.
I'm glad you brought that up, Large, because we all know Quiggs wasn't gonna.
No, they hung up the P7 banner in the Legacy garage.
Yeah,
he's so fucking.
They got the banner up.
Yeah,
honestly, they should just keep building momentum.
I'm so Nashville.
I'm so glad that kid show was canceled. So fucking glad.
I was impressed with Zane Smith. As much as I gave him 5-1 for a top 10, finishing 13th is still pretty good, especially given kind of the chaos we saw last year versus kind of the lack of chaos we saw this year at Nashville. Relatively speaking, of course, it was a little bit more kind of cleaner of a race toward the end, and Zane Smith still managed a 13th place. So not the top 10 I had in mind, but if you tell me a guy 5-1 for a top 10 finishes 13th, I can kind of live with that because he's, he was there. So impressed with him as well. But yeah, I think Eric Jones is the guy you got to kind of tip your cap to this week.
And plus, he's just one of our. He's just a good guy. Everyone here seems to like him, except for Quiggs. All right, so then outside of Eric Jones, we give a little flowers to him. Let's talk about Prime. So we didn't have the race that we had at Charlotte, right? I don't know what this race did at Gluck's poll. I think it was in the mid to high 60s, as opposed to the Charlotte race, which was much higher than that. But we were wondering last week, what does Prime do when they don't have the pomp and circumstance of somebody trying the double that day, or going 600 miles with an extra stage break and all the the patriotic, jingoistic, great stuff that they do around the Coca-Cola 600? and I think they did another great job, right? I mean, for people who watch the broadcast, I think everyone's coming away with very good feelings. The numbers are just, I don't know if they're deceptive or if they're disappointing or if they're okay, but they don't look that good. According to Adam Stern, Prime got a 1.01 rating and 2 million viewers for Sunday's race. Last year, got 3.24 million on NBC before a weather delay. And then the next day when it went on USA, it still did 2.13 million. So even the rain delay on Monday beat out the numbers that we did for Sunday's race at Nashville, right? Like, and I know there's always moving parts around that. Like this race was on NBC last year because it kind of followed some Olympic trials before they went into like that Olympic break. Remember we had that 2-week break last year. So maybe these races are skewed, but are we getting to a point where Prime is good for viewership? Like we're all loving this Prime broadcast stuff, but it has a poor reach. It's a very good broadcast with a very poor reach, or is it just too fucking early to tell any of this shit? I'm having a good experience all the way around, and I want millions to tune in. I'm not seeing that second part come to fruition yet. You think that's going to be a problem, or you think it's a wait and see?
I personally think it's too early to tell, and I know that's hard to say when they really only have 5 cup races.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like for me, I'm not really looking as much at last year's numbers. I don't know why. I'm just kind of like discounting that.
That's okay.
I'm comparing it more so to last week and the Coke 600. And obviously, that being a crown jewel race, I think people are going to kind of get up for it. Whereas Nashville it's fun, but I mean, it's no crown jewel. So that'd kind of be my context. And I also think like the broadcast was still great. And again, that might be to your point, Large, is Prime good for viewership. I think it is like seeing Ryan Blaney have a beer with the crew, the cast of the Prime set after he won the race was awesome. I still watched the entirety of the race and I still watched the entirety of the post-race show. And I thought it was great. So I do think it's a little too early to tell. I think we won't really know how successful the Prime efforts were until, their 5 races are up and we go back to the regular broadcast partners. But I also think it will be a testament to how good Prime it has done, because I think people after the fact are going to be saying, I wish Prime was still broadcasting these races, bring back the Prime coverage after their 5 races are up. So I'm kind of straddling the fence here. I do think it's too early to tell, though.
I will tell you the first 12 races of the season that took place on a Sunday averaged 3.5 million viewers. This one did just over 2 million. So
Yeah.
Those, if you wanted a second, set to look at just for this season. So I think it's worth paying attention to, like you said, even if it is earlier, because I want these guys to do well.
Yeah.
I want them to have more races. And by the way, it's very user friendly. Like for people who are like, oh, I don't know how my grandfather's ever going to watch these fucking races. It's the best way to watch a race, right? No matter what time you turn on, it's so fucking easy. So
it's the first suggestion when you open up Prime.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, people are stopping me on the street. Like Liam, our old producer, just stopped me. He's like, this Dale thing is fucking amazing. Because now all 4 episodes are out of this Dale, the Earnhardt documentary. I'm still blowing the shit out of that thing. It was very, very worthwhile. And if you start watching it, make sure you watch episode 3 and 4 as well, because that's where it gets really good. So we're still on board with Prime. We love it. Love to see those numbers come up, or some sort of at least a steady raise in them. But they don't have a lot of fucking wood to chop because they only have a couple of races left, right? They got to get this shit.
And
all
like
in.
their numbers are always going to be lower. Like it's a platform that has a barrier of entry and a monthly membership and
not cable.
Like I wonder what their projections are. Like they may be cheering for 2 million viewers and being like, oh, we're only down that. And we're also getting $7 a month off everybody or whatever. I don't even know. I've had Prime for so long that I don't know consider it a cost. It's just like something I have.
It's like air.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know that it like they may be happy with those numbers.
Yeah,
and the product is great. So
yeah. Yeah, I guess you can't have it all. But if those numbers were to come up, if we were to see something, then I'd be like, wow, this is an overall rousing success. I can't find things to shit on with the Prime broadcast. So maybe this is a little bit of a stretch, and I'm putting the cart before the horse. But we'll see, right? Only time will tell. Headlines, Tyler Reddick and Alexa had their second baby boy. Their first son, Bo, was born in 2020. And the new kid, his name is Rookie George. It's kind of cool name.
That's great. Yeah. It's a racing name.
Yeah, Tyler pulling out. The Tyler and Alexa. So congratulations to them. Denny is still on baby watch. We're taping on Wednesday at around 3 o'clock. I didn't see anything, but Jordan is about to go any day now to have his third kid, which is going to be a boy. Did I mention this to you, Spider? Do you know who his backup driver was for this week?
I do, yeah, you did. It was Ryan Truex, which I thought was awesome. He's a guy I love seeing anytime he's in the car, and seems like any opportunity is a good opportunity for him. He seemingly always is exceeding my expectations for him. So I love the fact that he was the guy kind of waiting in the wings, and we'll see what happens this week. Should he need to fill in for Denny at Michigan?
I was talking to Blaney about that. Like, I was just going back and forth. I was like, oh, it's nice to see Ryan Truex, at least get the nod to do such thing. And some guy who was at the golf tournament was like, wait, Martin Truex was going to ride if Denny was out? And Blaney's like, fuck no. Because Martin's on a pond right now, or a lake, or something like that. There's no fucking way. But congratulations to Tyler, and obviously best luck to Denny and Jordan. They made the bracket. They didn't make the tournament teams are set. The 32 people that are going to be involved in the midseason bracket challenge has been set after last week. Now they just have to seed them. So getting down to that 32 cut, Brad Keselowski was the last guy who made it in. And then below him, the people who will not be included in this, this midseason tournament will be Shane Van Gisbergen, Riley Herbst, and Cole Custer. Those guys were kind of right around that cut line. That's very important, because I believe there's a road course when they start to do this bracket challenge. So not having Shane in there, that would have really been a fly in the ointment. So kind of getting Shane, and that's no animosity. And obviously I have a lot of animosity for some reason with this guy, but it was just kind of interesting to see. And Brad K just fucking sneaking in. So the 32 driver field isn't set, but the drivers have been decided. And now the bracket seeding will be set based on their performance over the next 3 weeks at Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono. And then the head-to-head in-race matchups start with Atlanta, then Chicago, then Sonoma, and then Indy. So there's a couple of fucking instances in there where SVG could have done very, very well. Now I'm kind of regretting. I would have liked to have seen him get in there and just shake the whole fucking thing up, win $1 million. That would have been kind of cool too. But either way, the brackets start with Atlanta when these things go to TNT Sports after the Prime coverage ends. I don't know why they are doing that based on the next 3 races, since we already have a point system in place, but that's the way that they're going to create the seedings and the matchups for when this bracket tournament starts in just a couple of weeks. A headline I had seen this morning off the back of him not being able to do the double with the Indy and the Coke 600, Kyle Larson had said that he is not going to make his Supercars debut in Australia this November. This was the only race on the Supercars schedule that took place outside of the Cup Series, making it the only possibility to host Cup drivers. Is that a sign of things to come? Is that a sign that maybe Kyle Larson's like, I think I'm just going to do one thing at a time now. I'll do my dirt racing on the side and, whatever else I decide to do. But as far as this big fucking grandiose plans of competing in other types of racing, I think I may be done with that. You think Kyle's wising up here?
I disagree with you, Large.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's a big difference between, travel, and granted, I'm not downplaying the commute that is double duty. Traveling from Indy to Charlotte to do 1,100 miles is certainly a massive feat. But I mean, Australia is a whole different animal. I think it's, on the other side of the world, it's big commute. It's a lot of stuff that he would have to prepare for. And I think, sure, maybe there's a little bit of truth in the fact that he's kind of, focusing on one thing at a time. But I completely expect him to still kind of have that edge that he has for the last couple of years, for as long as, we've known about Kyle Larson, to do dirt racing and other disciplines of racing. I don't think this changes anything. I would kind of remind people and underline the fact that this was in Australia. So, yeah, I don't know. That would be my thought process. I don't think this is kind of a benchmark or a barometer for his willingness to do other disciplines of racing, especially when they're super close. A lot of times the Cup race overlaps with smaller events going on, whether it be like Ty Gibbs we saw running dirt cars in Vegas or whatever. But I still fully expect Larson to compete in that. I just think this one is a substantial logistical commute headache, if you will. So I think it makes sense.
But you don't think that the timing on it, he must be like, I just don't want to fucking do this again. I don't feel like going through all the, the bullshit of trying to get over there to do practice and all that stuff. I don't know if he's done with other disciplines, but I think not completing either race this year of the double really kicked him in the fucking pants.
He did look defeated. And I mean, I'm who am I to be empathetic of that position? I've never done anything close to that, but, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a lot of stuff. And I think at this point, I know this is in November and the Cup Series ends like very early in November, but there's still a lot of stuff that goes into it. We saw Larson, go back and forth for qualifying, not to say I'm aware of what his preparation regimen would look like ahead of this supercars race in Australia, but I think if he's going to try to go back and win a championship in the Cup Series, that's going to be his sole focus. And then outside of that, he might, take on other racing opportunities as they present himself. But I don't know. This didn't really do anything for me anyways. You didn't seemingly care about the double duty.
I don't.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this. Supercars, okay. I don't really know.
I think it's more intriguing if SVG goes.
I would tend to agree with that. The only thing I know about supercars is that's SVG's like bread and butter. So I think it'd be cool I would tune in.
I'd watch SVG
for sure
because I never watched him before, and now that
you'd watch SVG versus Larson. Is that what you're saying?
Like
just in
general.
general.
Basically, SVG took that spot that Larson's even open and be like. Now that I know this guy, I kind of want to see him do like race in the field that he dominated and see if he still has it. See how unreal he actually was at it. Like that's more intriguing to me than a Larson that's probably going to be fighting for a championship that's not going to put in the time needed to like actually be competitive in it. And
I actually strongly agree with you, Quiggs. That would be a cool
and that could happen. I don't know if he has plans on. I would assume he's pretty open invite if there's a seat available whenever he wants to go.
He's got places to stay.
Who do you think the Cup driver is like that? Like, hey, we'll get you a seat when you want one. Is that like Martin Truex racing in the 500 this year? Like a team will just prepare him a car?
I don't. Is supercars? And again, we'll have to claim ignorance on this one. Is supercars as popular as the Cup Series? Is it the top of the line for motorsports down under? Or is this more like Kyle Busch being able to jump into a truck anytime he wants to?
Yeah, we're going to need someone, one of those guys down under to break that down for us, but I do not know enough about that.
No.
You don't know.
But definitely something I'd tune into, as Quiggs alluded to. I think that could be fun.
Good news for Kyle Larson. He did pass Chase Elliott as the most single driver merch sales this year. It's a little bit skewed. The most merch sales in general comes with just the NASCAR brand. NASCAR sells more of just their branded stuff, which I think is weird. It's like that Rob Lowe NFL hat type thing, right? But as far as drivers are concerned, it's Larson, and now Chase Elliott is number 2.
I like this storyline, Large.
I think it's cool. Business Insider said trackside merchandise sales at last week's Coca-Cola 600 were the highest in 15 years. That's the part that I don't recognize, and I should. It's good for fucking merch sales. Like I said, when we were out in Indianapolis this week, we both bought little fucking die casts. So that's how hypocritical am I with that shit. So that type of effect, and jumping over a guy who we know is insanely popular like Chase Elliott, it's a big fucking deal. So it starts to make a little bit more sense. But look down that top 10 list. I put in the 11th too. Anybody out there just jump out at you as a surprise that they're in the top
I think
11?
Justin Allgaier
I was
being
gonna
over
say.
Dale Senior is
Justin
crazy.
Allgaier over Dale Senior. I mean,
I
Dale,
know that.
yeah. I'm
I
going
know
to
he's
read off
not
the
active,
list
but-
for people who don't have it in front of them. Obviously, it's Kyle Larson now is number 1 with a bullet, then Chase Elliott, then Kyle Busch. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That
that's
one's
fine
kind
with
of
me.
surprising too. I feel like every time I go to the track, people are booing him. They hate him more than they love him. Don't
There's
get me
a
wrong.
lot of Kyle Busch
there
shirts,
are Kyle
too.
Busch
Yeah.
fans, but
Ross Chastain is 4th. I think that's high. But,
Yeah.
okay. Ross
I mean,
Chastain is 4th, above Ryan Blaney, who's 5th. Then you got Joey Logano. Then it's Junior. Junior is 7th. Allgaier is 8th. Senior is 9th. Then William Byron. And then Daniel Suarez at 11th. I didn't know Daniel was pushing that much merch.
That's the
So that's why I
Amigos.
put that in there. The Amigos open up their pocketbooks and support the guy, which I love. So
Yep.
yeah, I guess maybe Allgaier, who is an elite Xfinity driver, but you're surprised that he's over somebody who's been dead for a quarter of a century?
Just like there's nothing more like Dale Earnhardt merch is like the
iconic.
it's
Holy Grail.
if I think most fans, if they're like going up to a merch hauler and they're buying their first piece of merch and there's just a sick Dale shirt, it's hard to pass
It's a
that up.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you can buy like everyone's a Dale fan. Like it's like I would have a hard time if I went up to a merch hauler and they're like, get your favorite driver. Like I don't know if I have a number 1 guy. I don't know who I would get, but I would get a Dale T all day.
My takeaway from this list is that I think Blaney at 5 is a little bit lower than I thought, especially him being behind Chastain. Chastain's higher, Blaney's lower, Allgaier's higher, and I just personally love this because this is kind of telling me that NASCAR fans are hypocritical in the sense where I root for so many drivers. They're doing the same damn thing, Large. They fucked with Chase when he was winning, when he was in that last gen car winning all the time. And now that he's kind of struggled, I shouldn't even say struggled. He hasn't won at the same clip. He's still 5th in standings.
Yep.
But Larson takes the cake, which is kind of reassuring and I think a little bit hypocritical based on some of the feedback that I've gotten. But at the same time, I don't know if that's a fair point to make, that they're just fair weather fans moving Larson to 1, because Kyle Busch is another guy that struggled recently and he's still 3. And like I said, I feel like I see just as many people booing him during driver intros as I do wearing his merch. And I also think there's something to be said, and this is kind of why I'm surprised to see Allgaier at 8. Nothing against Brandt, one of his sponsors, but Kyle Busch in an M&M shirt, an M&M jacket, that plays with everyone, in my opinion. And now that he doesn't really have those kind of flagship household name sponsorships,
Right.
it's surprising for me personally to see him still be at 3, especially given, unfortunately, the way that he's been running.
Yeah, that's another thing that goes into it. It's just like, how good does the merch look?
Right.
Like,
But
Allgaier may just have some sick
I was going to say, I should also say JRM has some of the best shirt
Yeah,
designs.
Yeah.
They might not have like a sponsor that you're familiar with or even know what they do, but I have a sweet Allgaier shirt that's like cows and aliens abducting his car from the track. They do a great job with all the. I bought a Connor Zillish's shirt this year with all over print. So the JRM shirt designers.
Is that maybe why he's so high? It's just
the designs themselves.
Just the haulers.
Well, that's why
selling
Chastain's that
Allgaier,
high.
Dale, senior and junior stuff. Is that like where you get? Do you get those all at the same hauler?
No, I don't think so. So I think Junior would be in JRM, but at Daytona 500, Senior had his own booth, if I'm not mistaken, or he might have been in the NASCAR Classics booth.
He'd be the number 1 bootlegged merch.
Oh, 100%. We should
By
call Brock.
Senior. Yeah.
We should call our guy Brock. He probably has his fucking
Yeah.
finger on the
He's
pulse.
the patent guy.
Yeah.
I think that you got to give kudos to the people who have capitalized on that whole watermelon thing.
Yeah.
Like that watermelon merch sells like fucking hotcakes.
For as much as the both Trackhouse, I guess shouldn't say both because they're more than a 2-car team at this point, but the fact that Chastain and Suarez are both on there is kind of surprising to me because I feel like there's so much they can do with their merch.
We got an ice cream delivery.
Ice cream. Look at Jacob. Come on in the camera. Look at this. Our cream team is making the appearance.
Everything going good down there?
We did it.
We did it.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's
please.
Spider requested a cone while you guys were recording.
Yeah, I don't see a cone here, Jacob.
Do you want me to go get a cone?
No, this is great.
You get anything for large?
Large, I can ship some to you.
Appreciate that, brother.
It's coming via helicopter right now.
How does
That's
it go?
good.
Give
Great.
the people a little.
The cream team is a success. We now have an operational, functioning industrial soft serve ice cream machine in Barstool, Chicago.
Wow.
All right, let's see how long we keep it running.
Big day.
Congrats. We still don't have paper towels in the men's room here in New York. It's been, I think, 3 weeks. Not a single. If you use the facilities here in New York, you have to go to the kitchenette to wash your hands.
We should start doing this. That's tough, Large. Sorry about that.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was just trying to fill in the air because you guys are eating soft serve. So I was just trying to fill in. You know what I'm saying? But so feel free to interrupt. Just don't give yourself one of those, ice cream headaches. That would be awful.
Brain freeze.
You know what I mean? Yeah, fucking assholes.
No, I think we should start doing this. Like we'll have the pick the tire segment, and then maybe we can do a soft serve segment as well.
You know what? We should do that. We should say who is the softest driver.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the fucking whatever
Taylor ice cream machines.
All right, so we're done with Nashville. It's in the rear view. Let's just talk to Rajah Caruth a little bit here and catch this young man's idea. We're about to go 3 wide with Rajah Caruth. And before we do that, NASCAR wants to remind you of Mexico City that Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is the crown jewel of the NASCAR Mexico Series. Tight corners and fast straightaways push drivers to their limits with door-to-door battles all race long. Anything can happen in Mexico City, where bold moves and dramatic finishes are part of the show. The fan experience is electric, with passionate crowds, nonstop energy, and a celebration of motorsports culture. Tickets growing fast, so lock yours in now at NASCAR.com and don't miss the excitement. Feel the adrenaline in Mexico City. Watch the NASCAR Cup Series in Mexico live on Prime June 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern for edge-of-your-seat racing action. And with that, let's speak to the most recent Truck Series winner, Rajah Caruth. All right, so as promised, we have a 22-year-old punk. These young kids coming in here and just ruling the fucking every road that they come on. Get out of my way. I'm 54 and fucking angry. Goes on to his second win this season. His second career win last week at Nashville. He drives a 71 Chevy for Spire Motorsports. It's Rajah Caruth. Rajah, thank you very much for coming on to the show. We appreciate you coming here. I'm going to start. Spider and I just got through talking about Carson Hocevar and how people have been impressed with the speed that he's been able to get out of his car this season. And some people have been not so impressed with his level of aggression. Like, people are going back and forth. As a young driver who is setting up your personality, right? Like, on top of trying to be the greatest driver in the world, move up in the Truck Series and to bigger and better things. How important is it for you to also set up, I don't know, the tough guy versus non-tough guy, aggressive versus non-aggressive type of personality that people are going to say that's the way that Rajah Caruth drives? I
think that's a good question. I was actually talking to Dan, one of our engineers in the Chevrolet GM Wise optimization program, where a lot of us train, and he told me the other day, it was like a lot of times when you have those, late race scenarios or tense moments on the racetrack, right? Those are like your most primitive from your instincts as you're driving. And so it really shows really who you are as a person when you get in those tense moments on the racetrack. So I think for me, like, I just try to be myself as a whole, from off the racetrack to in the truck. I think, I've definitely been on the bad side of just being taken advantage of and maybe being a little bit too soft. But I think I've learned to, I don't have to go out of my way to screw people, right? But I can put myself first, put my team first, right? Because I'm putting food on their table. I'm trying to get good results for myself, my family, my team, and our partners. And for me, the way I do that is different than everybody, I guess. But I think overall, I just try to be myself and race hard, race fair, race aggressive when it's due time, and just be myself ultimately at the end of the day. That's the way I look at it.
One thing I love about NASCAR is how sweet and diverse all the trophies are at any given track. You can win anything from a sword to a Coca-Cola machine to a guitar. Obviously, you got the guitar this weekend at Nashville. One, can you play any instruments? And two, what are some of the most desirable trophies in the sport that you would like to add to your collection?
I would say, for one, yeah, that guitar is still at the shop. I think that was the first time I ever picked up a guitar, was Friday, so that was pretty cool. In terms of musical talents, zero. I think the large majority of American young adults have played the recorder at some point in their life.
Yeah.
Hot crossbuns or whatever. I think that's the only thing, I guess. But as far as trophies, I don't know. Whatever's next, I think I'm just really appreciative to have earned it last Friday night. I think the Craftsman Truck Series Championship trophy will look pretty cool, and hopefully the Bill France Cup one day. But overall, I'm just excited for whatever the next one is, and I'm thankful for what we've earned so far.
While we're speaking about music, I got a follow up. We had Mark Martin on the show, and he went kind of viral for saying his love for Gucci Mane. Is there someone that you maybe like that would be kind of come as a surprise to your fans?
No, I mean, J. Cole is my favorite rapper, and he's been my favorite rapper for as long as I've listened to music. So that's not really a surprise per se, because I've talked about it literally my whole career.
Yeah.
I think as a whole, though, I really like so my family is from the Caribbean. St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Barbados are the specific islands, but I love reggae music, Afro beats, and just kind of that genre. So for me, I listen to a lot of like stuff I had in my childhood, whether it's like Buju Banton or Tanya Stevens, obviously Bob Marley and his children and all that. I think also I really like Thames. That's a lot more recent, obviously, than the artist I just mentioned. But yeah, I love Thames. Her music's amazing, and we actually have the same birthday, so that's actually pretty cool. But yeah, I don't really like country music that much. Like, I had a little bit of a country music phase when I first moved to North Carolina, because I just was ingesting pretty much everything racing. But now that I've lived here for a while, it's like not all of not quite my forte, all of it, but I still have some songs I like, for sure.
Back to the roots. Yeah, for sure.
Back to the roots.
You said your mom and dad have that type of background with St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I know maybe mom Barbados also. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they also are called for short SVG. Does it piss you off that son of a bitch is not only coming over here and try to take over fucking NASCAR, he's also robbing your heritage, Rajah? He's just totally disregarding the good people at St. Vincent and the Grenadines and saying, you know what? I'm fucking SVG and they're not. Does that piss you off at all, or is it just me?
It's just you,
It's
bro.
just me.
It ain't
It's just
deep.
me, isn't it?
Yeah, it ain't that deep. Nah, Shane's a real dope person. It's funny. I have a Chevy SS, and the first time he saw it, he was like, "Are you gonna badge swap it? Because it's actually like a Holden, from Australia, I guess, or whatever." And he's cool. I've been around him for a couple years now. Him working out in the same program and being a Chevrolet and everything. And I remember his first truck races with Nice and all that. So. He's a cool cat for sure. But
Spider, am I ever going to get somebody to jump on the SVG hate train other than me?
It's just you.
This guy is universally fucking loved. He's a nice guy and he's talented.
He's a great person, bro.
I met his dad. I met his sister. They're all great people. I don't know why. I just think the guy's a fucking plant. He's a spy of some way. What was the first time that you drive? What age did you start driving, Rajah?
So I grew up in DC, so I literally never drove anything until I was probably like 14 or 15. Because I just grew up like taking the train, biking to school, taking the bus to school, walking. So I never really grew up driving. I didn't get my license until I was 18. So very late to starting behind the wheel. The first time I drove, I outside of, like K1 speed, like Autobahn Indoor Speedway type of electric indoor go-karting. My first time in a legend car was 2019. I tested at the Concord Speedway. It's not there anymore. I also drove at Shenandoah Speedway before I ran the Bojangles Summer Shootout in 2019. So first time really in anything was 2019. So I was 16, turning 17. So Very short career so
how
far.
do you make up for that? Because it seems like now some of these kids are driving straight out of the womb, right? Like we get to see,
Yes.
Braxton and Keelan had won a race this weekend. These kids they start so goddamn young. So what was able to close that 10-year gap? Because a lot of them start at 6, right? So you're saying 16, 18, that type of stuff. What were you able to do to kind of close that 10-year gap that you weren't doing what everyone else in the fucking league was?
Exactly. Sometimes I still feel like I'm catching up, and I never will, right? I think it's just a product of just where I started and still having the passion, but not having the opportunity until a certain age. So for me, I was a fan for the longest, and I think that helped me have an enthusiasm and appreciation for this now that I'm driving as an adult. I think it helps from a maturity level just because I didn't get into an Xfinity car until, 2 years, 3 years out of high school, second year of college, living by myself for 2 or 3 years, right? And having those, essential life experiences as an adult before getting to run those national series races. So in terms of catching up for me, I use this simulator like all the time, and whether it's my iRacing rig at home or the awesome tools we have with General Motors and Chevy at the Charlotte Tech Center, just to try to close the gap. And then besides that, I'm really a student of the game, right? I mean, I've taken notes from my first races ever 5-6 years ago, and I still have all my notebooks of trying to study and log my own experiences and really just do what I can to bring maybe a mama mentality to it. I think it's hard because I played other sports growing up. So like to get better than people, right? You work out more, you train more, you do other things. And in racing, like you can't just go out and drive more because it costs money and there's testing rules. So definitely had to bring that approach to racing in a different way.
Given you kind of came into the sport later than most of these guys typically do, was there someone that you kind of leaned on? Do you have any role models in the sport, people that reach out with advice? And then in the same breath, who did you grow up rooting for? You said you've been a lifelong fan. So is there someone that when you were a kid, you pulled for?
Yeah. So I guess growing up, Jimmy Johnson was my favorite driver from as early as I can remember. I watched F1 a little bit, so Lewis Hamilton as well. And then as I got older, Bubba Wallace obviously starting to make his headlines there in the early 2010s and stuff when I was really just getting my start in racing. And as far as the behind the wheel, one of my first driver coaches was Mark Green. I'm sure you guys know who that is. And, his son is Tyler, and he spots for Carson. He spots for the 7 truck, and he's in the sport. His nephew, Austin, just won the ARCA race there at Charlotte a couple weeks ago. So the Green family has always been really good to me and has helped a lot of young drivers through the NASCAR driver diversity program with Rev Racing. And I mentioned Bubba before. He's been there really every step of the way in my career, from my first legend car races to my first late model wins, my first Xfinity start, my first wrecks, my first highs and lows, and been there as a really a big bro from jump. So same with guys like Corey LaJoy, Ross. A lot of the Cup guys have been really good to me as I've come up the ladder, and I've also had really good teammates as well. Somebody like Grant Enfinger comes to mind for sure. Nick Sanchez, just guys I was able to learn a lot from being around and trying to get better myself.
You had mentioned that you came in with a little bit. I mean, your benefit is that you have some age to you, some maturity, and you'd mentioned that you were an athlete before you were a driver. I wonder, right? Because a lot of these guys who did start so young, you fast forward and they're very accomplished drivers, but then you watch them throw out a first pitch at a baseball game and it looked like they grew up in a house full of girls, right? So as a guy who is, seemingly, and by the way, listening to Actions Detrimental, Denny had said you'd come down to the hoop group thing to, you lit it up down there. You're on the waiting list now, which from what I understand is a fucking honor.
Very impossible to get on that, by the way.
100%. So speaking in athletic terms, because Denny then in that same episode had said how he didn't have his cool suit on and, he doesn't wear one and maybe his water bottle had broke. And he made his drive out to be a heroic type thing, almost from an athletic standpoint. How difficult is it then for a guy who's actually been on other sports teams to get into the car? Because we know what it does to some guys' bodies. You hear about people losing 6 pounds in a race. How difficult is it for you physically to to drive?
I would say it just was a different type of ask on your body. I think for me, I ran track primarily growing up. I played basketball, I played soccer. Obviously, I quit doing those sports because I'm just short. I quit growing, but I ran really all through middle school and high school. And so the type of training in terms of like interval training, breath work, just having a big background in cardio, that translated super well to racing. But there's a good amount of strength that matters for driving, whether it's just your hip strength, your lower body, for just whether you have your pedal super stiff and just the stamina that takes, your shoulders, your traps. So it's not easy by any means. It's not terrible, right? Because most of the time we have power steering. I mean, you have guys wear cool suits in ARCA racing, and I still don't really understand that. But you have a lot more things nowadays to make the driver, comfort, because that matters at the end of the day, right? If you're not feeling at your best in the car, you're not going to drive and be as, useful with your feedback. You're not going to be able to be as present, and you're not going to just perform at your highest, right? So everybody's body's different. I would say for myself, like the truck races aren't super long. We don't run right side windows anywhere outside of Daytona and Talladega. So it's not really it's not, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a thing I've just had to adjust and acclimate to, because it's a different type of training. It's not easy, but for myself, I think the training part of it has been fun because I do have that background in sports, and I can bring like the locker room mentality and just the intensity and consistency that I had growing up and continue to have that in racing. But overall, for a cup race, I mean, that thing is long, and they have the windows, and those things are way hotter with the exhaust, the dual exhaust and all that. So I've never driven a cup car, obviously, so I can't speak to what those are, but truck races aren't super long and all that. So
what do you think the timeline is on maybe getting you into a cup car or Xfinity for that matter? When do you see a promotion coming?
Yeah, I mean, I've already run in the Xfinity Series a little bit over the last couple of years, and that's how I really got my foot in the door. With my starts at Alpha Prime Racing, I ran a race for Hendrick in 2023, and those races really taught me a lot for having longer races, having right side windows, and just those guys are really good as well. So I would love to be back in the Xfinity Series. Hopefully I get another race or two this year in an Xfinity car, and that's certainly the goal for next season, right, to just go to the next level. And it would be great to race a cup car, whether it's next year, later this year, or further in the future. But I know I can't get to that point if I don't perform where I'm at. So that's really where my focus is. It's just trying to do as well as I am, or as well as I can here in the Truck Series with Spire Motorsports and HendrickCars.com and Chevy. But overall, I would love to be moving up, whether it's Xfinity next year or hopefully Cup at some point, just because I feel like I'm good enough. I know I don't have a bunch of experience, but I'm never going to catch up, right, because of just starting super late. So I paid my dues. I put in the work, and I feel like I'm deserving of that next opportunity.
Absolutely. And speaking of Cup and Xfinity, they race at some tracks that the Truck Series doesn't. And I know you guys do the same, especially with Lime Rock Park this year, where the truck race will be in Connecticut. But I often ask the Cup guys when they come on our show, I say, if you could add and remove one track from the season, from the calendar, from the schedule, if you will, what would you do? And I guess being a truck driver, your kind of position is different. So is there a race you would remove and then one you would add, maybe that either the Cup or Xfinity drives on and the trucks don't have that chance, or even a track outside of that you think would be good for the Truck Series?
That's a good question. I think a lot of the places that the Truck Series doesn't go to, I've been in an Xfinity car before, so I've kind of just seen the area and kind of know what to expect. So for me, I think a lot of times outside of like the big places like a Daytona or Martinsville or Bristol, like I think we should just go to places once in the year just to help the market and just create more ground swells for going there one time versus twice in the year, even if the racing's great, right? I think it's just not to oversaturate things. As far as the racetrack we should go to, I mean, we need to be back in Fontana, and I've said that for the last 3+ years. I ran in the Xfinity race the last time at the 2 Mile Oval or whatever, and I know that racetrack won't come back, but we need to be back in Southern California. I'll continue to say that for as long as I can until we go back there. It is essential for NASCAR to be there. Besides that, it's hard to say. I think it's nice that Rockingham is back. That's cool to see. Wilkesboro's back. I think those are some nice racetracks to go one time per year. But for me, top of mind is Fontana for sure. I can't really think of any other places because then it's like some tracks are cool from a maybe driver's perspective, right? But then it's like, how are you going to have the facilities and the fans and the operations and all that, or
for sure
stuff like that. So
we've seen the Chicago street race here in Chicago where I'm at right now, and we'll see it again this year, of course. But there's been some discussion that they might move to an alternate city following this year, or, explore other options in years future. One of those thrown around, and again, this is all just like rumors and kind of casual, basic elementary conversation, was the DMV. Being a guy from Washington, D.C., is there a spot specifically there that you would like to see, whether it be like a part of the city or a purpose-made kind of racetrack like the Chicago street race is? And how do you think that market would embrace NASCAR?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I think for one, on Chicago, I hope Chicagoland comes back. I do have an answer. I hope Chicagoland comes back.
Okay.
But I think the street race is just a great initiative, and I think it shows that it can go to different markets and expose NASCAR to these popular cities. I think as far as DC, I don't know. I feel like I'd have a leg up just because of being from that area and kind of just knowing what the streets look like. I mean, I've ran on a lot of them. I've biked on a lot of them. So definitely would have a little advantage for sure. But I don't know. DC is hard, right? Because you have downtown, you have the government building. So that will probably make things a little bit more annoying to get through. But you could also have something like on the outskirts of the city or / Maryland, Virginia, and then still say the DC or DMV Grand Prix. So
DMV Grand Prix, that rolls off the
okay,
tongue.
Good on a t-shirt. Yeah. Put that
Yeah.
fucking thing on a t-shirt.
But I don't know. I think the Red Bull F1 had an activation there last year or the year before maybe, and it looked pretty cool. But that's just one car and then closing out the street, right? So I don't know how 36 haulers would be with like the pit road timing lines and just all the little things. I don't know how that will work, but it would be cool to see it in different cities for sure. I think it's essential that NASCAR keeps doing that. I know it's expensive, but I think the long-term return on it is worth it.
So third year full-time in Truck Series, second year full-time with Spire. You got your first win at Las Vegas early in the season last year. You get your second win last weekend, about halfway through the season. What do we do to build on this momentum? I'm going to ask you to do my job for me. There is no Xfinity at Michigan this week. We're both big fans of Michigan. Spider and I were lucky enough to be Grand Marshals there a couple of years ago, and I was so pleasantly surprised with Irish Hills. It's like Mishadega, a lot of fun to go to. Can you talk to us about this track and what the game plan is, what the casual person that's going to sit down and watch their first truck race at Michigan this weekend can expect from the track, and also what they can expect from Rajah Caruth?
Yeah, Michigan's fun. It's super fast. It's a 2-mile racetrack, one of the biggest ovals that we go to. So especially with the truck racing, I mean, you're going to see guys going so fast at the end of the straightaway, spanning out, pushing each other. Hopefully not too many wrecks, but you may see a few. I'm excited personally because it's a good balance of handling, but you also have the drafting of a Daytona and Talladega. So, like you mentioned, it's a cool area. I've been there twice, and it's nice with the camping situation, and it's beautiful area. Being in the backyard of GM and Chevrolet and all their products is always super nice to have folks from General Motors at the racetrack. So, I think it'll be a fun and intense race, especially the restarts, right? We'll all fan out and be pushing each other. You can expect me, like, if I'm not able to complete a pass on somebody, I'm going to be just pushing the person in front of me, because I think Denny's talked about that a lot, from his plate racing over the years. I picked up on that of, if I can't complete the pass, I'm going to push the person in front of me up to the next person, right? And then they can decide if they want to pass them or stay in line, because I think at that point, you're just losing time to the leader. So I'm definitely bringing the mentality of pushing more than anything. And in terms of blocking, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of blocking because personally, if somebody blocks me, I have full rights to send you into the infield. But that's neither here nor there.
Carson and Ross Chastain are both racing in that race. How do you feel about that? We ask a lot of people, as you're trying to be like one of those guys who's dominating the series that you're in, when these guys come down, these seasoned veterans who have done what they needed to do in that series, they come down and race against you. Is it fair, or is it something that you relish because you want to race against the best?
I love racing with Cup guys. I think it just makes us better. Even if we get our teeth kicked in, I think it just makes us better. I learn a lot racing with them guys, and being teammates with like Kyle Busch and William and stuff like that. It's been great to just lean on those guys and learn. But also, anytime you can race with guys that are Sunday contenders, it's gonna elevate you, especially if you're around them on the racetrack. So definitely love when Cup guys race in the Truck Series. Just you're able to learn a lot. It's a great opportunity and a lot of fun.
All right. Well, everyone, make sure you tune in this weekend, and make sure you tune in specifically for Mr. Caruth, who's going to be in the 71 for Spire as he sends Carson Hocevar into the fence. Rajah, I appreciate. I'm just joking. I'm just fucking with you. We appreciate your time. I know that you got a lot of people on you, especially after the win, but we appreciate your time and hope you'll come back at some point.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Hope you all enjoy this weekend.
Absolutely. Best of luck.
Appreciate the time.
All right. So that was Rajah Caruth. Spider, I was impressed with that young man. Seemed like he was pretty good.
Yeah, no, great. He's another guy that I don't really have, any kind of relationship with, or I don't really know him that well. So great to have him on the show and celebrate with him following a win. So continued success to him. Hopefully he can kind of keep cutting his teeth and make his way up. I didn't mean to discredit him when I asked him, hey, about Xfinity or Cup Series. I meant more so when we can expect full time, which I think would be a dub for NASCAR, having him get promoted to one of those series eventually. And I know those things obviously come with time. So we're going to continue to pull for Rajah, not only in the Truck Series, but in those one-off looks he gets in the Xfinity car. And hopefully he's only a couple years away from moving up.
Yeah, hopefully so. Before we move on again, I just want to mention something. Spider and I both got DMs from BJ McLeod. I love to get in that DM, Spider.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that he reached out, and I'm not even sure I really even understand what he invited us to, Large. Maybe you can break that down for the people.
BJ McLeod, hey, wanted to see if you and Spider are interested in coming to Pigeon Forge Mountain Coaster grand opening on the weekend of June 21st. Would love to have you guys. I actually go to Pigeon Forge with my family. Not now, I haven't gone in years, but I used to take the family. We stayed in Gatlinburg in one of those cabins for rent.
Yep.
You rent like a cabin for 15 people, have only 5 stay in it. It's a good thing. And Pigeon Forge is what it is, right? Go to Dollywood, do your thing. So I would have fucking loved to go to Pigeon Forge with BJ McLeod.
I might.
that's a vlog.
I might take him up on that offer, Lars,
Yeah.
whether you're available or not.
It's the 21st of June. So if anyone's in and around the Pigeon Forge area, and again, we don't have any more details on this other than this DM. It seems like BJ McLeod's involved with the new mountain. It's got to be Mountain Coaster. That has to be a typo. So the Mountain Coaster, which is opening on the weekend of June 21st, go by and go on the fucking Mountain Coaster. I'll promote the shit out of that because BJ's just, I don't know, he's a good guy. So always wanted to spend some time with him.
Okay, so it's like a racetrack kind of.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be doing like a bare knuckle boxing event that weekend with BKB, but if I'm not, then fuck it. I'm in Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, I'm there too.
We started a preview in Michigan a little bit with Rajah. Let's just go through it a little bit more. This is brought to you by Amazon. Amazon Prime. It's madness in Motor City as NASCAR on Prime heads to Michigan International Speedway. 200 miles per hour. Feels even faster than it sounds. These white knuckle 3-wide thrills bring us one of the fastest tracks in the Cup Series. So strap in and stream Michigan Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. NASCAR, it's on Prime. We don't have all 3 series going off this weekend. The next stop for the Xfinity will be Mexico City for us for the Chilango 150. But this week, we just had the DQS Solutions and Staffing 200 for the Truck Series. It's going to be Saturday, June 7th, starting at noon. And you can catch all that action this week on Fox. And then the Cup Series, which you can catch on Prime, will be the Firekeepers Casino 400. Sunday, June 8th. Coverage starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, you can catch everything on Amazon Prime. I had mentioned to Rajah that Carson Hocevar and Ross will be racing trucks. I don't know why I called them Rajah.
That's Frankie Muniz 2.0.
I know. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, Rajah. I'm all fucked up. This one finished on Monday last year because of the rain. Reddick had won it. Kevin Harvick has 6 victories here, but he will not be in a car this year, as you know. The only active driver with multiple wins, with no surprise, is Kyle Larson, and he's got 2. So with that, let's pick some winners. Picking the Tires is brought to you by DraftKings. The NBA Finals are finally here. This is your last chance to bet on the NBA till next season, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make this finals one to remember. One team will be crowned champ and the other will be lost to history. Who do you got winning it all? Put your hoops expertise to the test. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props. Doesn't stop now. Who's going to carry their teams to the chip? Try placing a bet on your personal MVP to drop 30, 40, over 50. Ready to place your first bet? Download DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Lock in your bets and finish the season as a winner. And here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers, bet only $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Don't miss your last chance to bet on the NBA this season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Rubbin. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. I don't give a fuck about the NBA Finals, but I do want to pick some winners for the Michigan 400, which is this weekend. Does anybody want to go first? Do you want me to go first? It's up to you guys.
Why don't you go first, Large?
All right, so I'm going to do a top 10 first. You don't get plus money in top 10 until you get to Mr. Busher, Chris Busher. He's plus 100. It's just, I don't know, it's not enough for me. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper down the list, and I'm going to go to Eric Jones at plus 220 for a top 10 on his home track. Am I throwing money away, Quiggs? You're not telling me on that one.
No, but I don't know. We'll celebrate if he comes in ninth.
Right, and
Yeah, what a finish for Eric Jones.
Yeah, fucking jerk off. And then my chalkier pick. I was tempted to go Larson with that plus 550. I don't mind it, so I think I am going to go Kyle Larson. I'm going to go Kyle Larson plus 550. Eric Jones a top 10, and that's going to be it for me. What do you guys got?
I'm going to start with the same pick I had last week, and that is Zane Smith for a top 10. He's currently plus 350. Last year, he finished here 7th. And I would like to see him kind of stay hot. 13th place finish last week. This is a track that has been good to him in one start there on the cup level. So I'm going to take him for a top 10 plus 350. And it was similar odds last week and actually got better. Well, I guess it got higher odds. It closed at plus 500, 5-1 for a top 10. So hopefully we can, get those odds even juicier, and Zane does what he's done in the past here. The other guys I'm looking at, I'm intrigued by the success of RFK here in years past with Busher and Brad K, especially given the Ford ties, and this is a big race for Ford right in their backyard. But I'm going to give 2 outright winners. So I got the Zane Smith top 10 plus 350. And then I'm going to take Denny Hamlin plus 650. I am going to take a contingency plan just in case, God forbid. Well, not God forbid. Congratulations to Denny, should the baby be born during this week. So he could potentially be relieved of his duties for this week. So that's why I'm also going to take Ryan Blaney, who's plus 750. So I hate to have 2 of the top 3 favorites, but I'm with Denny plus 650. I'm with Blaney plus 750. And I'm with Zane Smith top 10 plus 350. Those are my 3 picks this week. And I'm probably going to take someone in the truck race as well. It sounds like I'll actually be at the track this weekend, last minute. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I don't know. Should I give a truck pick? Fuck it. Give me Lane Riggs 8-1.
Oh.
I like it.
Nice.
I think I might do top Ford. I might take Busher. I don't know why Busher's just jumping out. I mean, he's plus 550,
He's
top Ford behind. Yeah, but he's behind Blaney and Logano. Brad Gay plus 600. So I might take Chris Busher. Just maybe this second half of the season he comes back alive. So I might throw him. I'm going to throw him in as top Ford at plus 550. What do you got, Quiggs? Anything?
Yeah, I got something terrible. Really trying to thread a needle that is, but I'm sticking with it. I made these picks before. I'm sticking with it. I'm doing a parlay. I'm guessing the winner and a guy to finish top 5, and both of them have to happen. Winner, Denny Hamlin, who potentially may not even race. The top 5 is Brad Keselowski. I'm going to catch Brad Keselowski when he finally turns it around, because I'm betting him every week and he's just sucking all the time. But so Denny winner, Brad K top 5, parlayed together, plus 3,200.
All right. I love it.
Denny,
flush down the
Denny
drain.
win, Brad K top 5.
Yep, and both have to happen. But
All
I
right.
could get maybe Denny will drop out, it voids, then I just have straight Brad K.
Then you just run Brad K. All right, so that's it for us this week on Rubbin is Racing. If you guys are in Michigan this week, keep your eye out for Spider, who will be there at least for the Truck Series on Saturday. I'd imagine you stick around for the Cup on Sunday, right, Spider?
Yeah, probably going to be there for both days. So I'm looking forward to it. Michigan's been fun in the past. I'm looking forward to getting back there.
Yeah, keep an eye out for Spider. And then the following week, keep an eye out for all of us at Mexico City, Arriba. And have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the races. We'll see you next week on Rubbin is Racing.
Vamos.